Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Elite Clockman here. Special Episode 3 of SKIBIDI Multiverse was just released, and it is special indeed. You can even say that it was one a kind since it is divided into two different parts. Part 1 is in the form of a YouTube short, while Part 2 is your good old classic long video. In short, the episode is related to Special Episode 1 that came out 3 months ago. It follows the first timeline mentioned by the future large Clockman to that poor alarm clockman back in the first episode. That said, even if I already knew the outcome, my little heart was shattered into pieces. We finally got to see the birth of the future large Clockman, but at the heavy price of the 4 top Clockmen dying in the process. We also got to see what would have happened if the Titan Clockman wasn't back on track when the counter Titan pulled up. That said, we lost the 2 red Titans to the giant alien robot. But before we get to all of that, please make sure to like and subscribe if you think counter Titan is hotter than Alpha. Anyways, here we go. Since the plot of the episode is divided into 2 different videos, we will analyze both of them starting with the short. This short is the first ever canon short released by Dom Studios. It takes us back to episode 27 when the clock race was evacuating their dear clock base, due to Alpha pulling up on them with a whole legion of toilets. In the main timeline of the series, just as Chief Clockman and Alpha were about to get it on, the Chief was suddenly stabbed and beheaded by Alarm Clockman. It was indeed one of the most shocking moments in the series without a doubt. But it was later on in Special Episode 1 when we discovered that it was in fact a new mysterious Clockman who mind-controlled the Alarm Clockman and tricked him into killing the Chief in order to change the course of the war. But what if that never happened? Have you ever thought of what would have happened if Chief Clockman actually survived the fight? Special Episode 03 covers the first timeline events. A world where the future large Clockman didn't exist yet. A universe where he didn't get to play with the strings of time to change the course of events. The short starts off with the end of the fight between Chief Clockman and Alpha. The whole place was covered in purple flames as we see Alpha falling to the ground. From the looks of it, it seems that the purple lady lost the fight as it should have been. But just before my man could finish her off, she repelled him with her purple flames, which gave her weird alien bomb enough time to go off. And just like that, Alpha managed to escape the clock base with a few scars and a broken ego. Little did they know, this shattered pride of hers will cost them greatly. Seeing that their friends survived the fight on the plane's monitor, Clockwomen, Pendulum Clockman, Tall Clockman and Large Clockman were dying to go and rescue them, but they were too far away, and with the flames gaining more and more ground, making it in time seemed impossible. But then the Large Clockman stood up as he made up his mind. The Tall Clockman held him by the hand, knowing too well how this will end for the Clockman in the black hat. In the next scene, we see the door of the helicopter opening up as an injured Large Clockman unleashed a massive wave of time energy, freezing the whole area in time, giving the pilot cameraman a chance to make it back in time. The plan worked. Chief Clockman and Alarm Clockman were rescued and were now safe and sound on the plane. But at what price? While time was frozen, you could hear the sound of a clock in the background. This particular sound is the closest thing we Clockmen have to a heartbeat. Notice how it started with a normal speed, then gradually accelerated as time began to reflow normally, until the Large Clockman couldn't handle it anymore, and his head exploded in front of his family. Notice how everyone was in shock and horrified at what they've seen. But bro did stop time for a large area like a Titan, truly one of the most powerful Clockmen out there. And with that brutal death, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude this short video. But before going into the long video, I just wanted to express how sad I became after watching this short. Not just because of the death of the Large Clockman, but because of Alarm Clockman. If you remember correctly, it seems like the Clockmen were able to watch the fight between Alpha and their chief from the plane in Timeline 1. But here is the thing. What if they watched the horror of episode 27 in the main timeline instead? What if the Clockmen watched the murder of Chief Clockman? Not by the hands of an enemy, but backstabbed by their brother-in-arms Alarm Clockman? It would mean that in the current timeline, the clock race consider the poor man as a traitor, making his life even worse than it already is. At this point, death seems too sweet for bro. I swear to the SKIBIDI Gaiat goddess, this man can't catch a break. Anyways, we're gonna now attack the long video. After the normal credit screen and a 7-second recap of the short, the episode starts off in what seems the middle of episode 29. But something seems different. The episode starts off with the toilet scientist getting some red energy beam in his shiny head. Bro was up against the first two titans, Titan Cameraman and Titan Speakerman, and things were getting worse and worse as an angry Titan TV man arrived at the scene. As soon as he arrived, Bro ignored the enemy and started to yell at Titan Speakerman, telling him that he was supposed to buy some time. The lack of context here makes it impossible to determine what is the purple Titan talking about. And since the timeline has changed, I can't possibly tell what was happening exactly then. Not wanting his boyfriend to ignore him, Humpty Dumpty attacked Titan TV Man from the back with no results. It looked like Titan TV Man was more annoyed than in pain, since a mosquito bit him in the back. Then the Titan turned slowly to the old fart, took a page out of my book, and threw himself into the toilet scientist just like I do with clockwomen every morning. And how assassin drillmen do with me every night for training purposes, of course. In the next scene, we see the gravity gun of Titan Cameraman rotting away. It was the doing of the skull-faced toilet. Bro really thought that he can go against not one, but two Titans. Titan Cameraman took a look at that giant skull face and melted what little bones he had left with his left handgun. After that, some freaky toilet pulled up on the Titans, so the blue Titan walked them down before terminating them. All seemed going pretty well. 3 Titans were here after all. All seemed to be going pretty well, until he showed up. From behind Titan Speakerman, a tall monster arrived from the purple space-time portal. The counter-Titan is here. And without Titan Clockman, the monster's only weakness, my mans are cooked. Notice how the music changed. Crow had it all, the riz, the drip, even the dark aura. As soon as Counter-Titan pulled up, Steve, also known as Titan Drillman, charged at him and started punching left and right. But he got humbled because Counter just blocked and countered every blow with ease. You can tell Bro is a straight-up menace when Titan Drillman tried to bite his head off, but wasn't even scratched. I could hear him laugh as he started to beat the brakes of the red giant. But the other red Titan wasn't just going to sit there and watch. Titan Speakerman got him from behind and used his chains to immobilize his arms. But since the counter-Titan wasn't your everyday SKIBIDI toilet, he skillfully detached the parts of his arms in contact with the chains, turning them into 2 mini rockets. Bro pulled the ultimate Uno reverse using the Titan's chain against him and ripped the Giga Chad's arm off, ripping my heart with it. I still hear the screams of the Titan when the counter-Titan shot him in the chest, taking him down. If you pause at the right moment, you can see that the rockets of counter-Titan changed. They now have a red blade each, meaning that counter-Titan absorbed the powers of Titan Speakerman as he ripped his arms apart. After seeing that, Steve got on top of him and twisted his neck like an owl. But it takes more than that to even scratch counter-Titan. In the next scene, we find ourselves inside the basement of Clock Base. There we find the core of the large Clockman lying inside a circle drew on the ground with the top clocks around it. The large Clockman is the only normal Clockman that can stop time like a Titan, and not just stop the time of the target. And with the Titan still dead and the counter-Titan destroying every Titan out there, they don't have much time or many options. Besides, they don't need an excuse to revive their dead friend. In the basement, we see Clockwoman trying to use her powers to revive her dead friend, but it just won't work. You see, the more powerful the Clockman is, the more difficult it becomes to repair him. And it's a whole different story if you try to revive him, proving once again how strong this guy is. Bro is so powerful that Clockwoman can't even connect her time flow with him. Baby Mama then looks at the other Clockmen, telling them that it's no use to revive him like that. And with a sad tone, all of them understood that they need to take more drastic measures. The circle was now complete. Chief Clockman picked up his cane and firmly tapped it into the ground, activating the time circle. But then, the time particles suddenly turned red as the power of Daddy Chief slowly started to fade away. The red means that the power of the Chief is unstable, and that the circle is consuming his life force since the time power wasn't enough. Seeing their leader struggling, all of the top clocks came together and helped by giving what time they had left along with their life energy. The large Clockman began to glow with time energy as his core started to levitate. The power was so pure and so intense that his revival was marked by a giant explosion, knocking everybody back a couple of feet away. The explosion was so intense that the giant gears of Big Ben themselves fell off to the ground. A new Clockman was now born. He wasn't the same as before. He has now become what we all know as the future large Clockman, the strongest Clockman yet, aside from the Titan, a being of pure time energy, connected to time energy more than any other Clockman before. Look at Bro's reaction. He is surprised by the fact that he's alive again, but also intrigued by the new Clockman he has become. Just look how he was in shock. Unfortunately, the chief Clockman, the strongest one of its race yet, was still breathing, but the explosion was so intense that it blew his hat off. Suddenly the ground started to shake, and the building was about to collapse. The time energy was too unstable, and if nothing was done, the whole building would fall on their heads. But that's not all. This scene looks like a reference to Stranger Things Season 3, the main villain Vecna to be precise. Could the clock base has its own Vecna hiding inside of it? Only time will reveal, only time will tell. Anyways, Chief Clockman used his last bit of energy to stop whatever was happening to the tower. And with that, the last special Clockman fell to the ground. What a heartbreaking moment for the new large Clockman, seeing his friends as unalived corpses on the ground. These guys used their last bit of life force and gave it all with the future to their friend, so he can live on as they forever live in his heart. It truly breaks my heart. I really enjoyed every single one of these BBC's best badass Clockmen. The next scene is truly heartbreaking and shocking, since we see Counter Titan holding the head of Steve in his hand before tossing it like garbage. But it made me wonder if Titan Drillman used his secret form to defeat the Counter Titan. So 4 different scenarios are possible. 1, the Titan was taken by surprise and didn't have time to use that form. Number 2, the Titan did use his secret form, but Counter just took his head off anyways. Scenario 3, the form is so destructive that it would have injured the other Titans in the process. Scenario 4, and the most probable, Titan Drillman didn't use this form because it's so strong and destructive that if Counter Titan managed to copy it, no force on this earth could ever save the Alliance from the carnage that would occur. Anyways, after witnessing the death of his friend, Titan Cameraman's eye turned red and could only think of tearing that damn alien apart. But Titan TV Man grasped the situation well, and realized that they didn't stand a chance and would most likely die if they tried to take him on now, since both of them was injured. And with a cold head, and just like in episode 74 of the original series, Titan TV Man picked up the angry Titan and retreated. In the next scene, we see the future large Clockman levitating his way out of the base. Notice how he isn't using a jetpack or anything like that, showing us just how strong and overpowered he has become. But what truly marked his strength is the fact that as soon as Bro was spotted, Counter Titan immediately pointed his laser beam at it. Also notice the look on the toilet scientist's face. Never have we seen him looking at a non-Titan like that. You know, blood-mastered Ultra Oro and 2 of the biggest menaces in the show are on their guard when you walked in the room. After that, the future large Clockman's head started to spin and glow as he disappeared in a white time light. And that's the end of the episode. My friends, we have reached the end of this video. There is no doubt that we will most likely see more of the other timelines. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you want a nice summer. See you guys in the next video.